Welcome to the first full day of the EuroPD conference. In keeping with this year's theme, Knowledge in PD is the Key, we will be exploring some of the history of PD and the EuroPD meeting, and looking to what the future holds for PD in Europe.
The origin of PD really started in 1923 in Germany. It was just only one exchange. The first CAPD was done in Columbia, Missouri, and the first paper was published in Annals of Internal Medicine in 1978 with Popovich, Moncrief, North. I was also co-author of this paper. These pioneers already are gone, but the work which they have done remains right now, and it's continued by new people. Then, of course, when I was in Columbia, Missouri in 1976, then I started with CAPD, and then I developed this so-called peritoneal equilibration test. It is indicating which kind of peritoneal dialysis is the best for a particular patient.
So the first EuroPD meeting, as it's now become, was back in the early 90s. It was a meeting which was designed to really try and bring basic science into the art of peritoneal dialysis. I think when we first started, we didn't realise just how big this was going to get, and EuroPD was probably not what we'd called it right from the beginning, but it became that and evolved to that over time. I think this is now our 12th meeting, and over that period of time it's evolved quite a lot. So it's now much more inclusive of clinical research, not just the basic sciences like laboratory sciences, but also we very much embrace the sciences of clinical trials, methodology, and the work that we do with patients and understanding how they appreciate the therapy. So, for example, quality of life studies and that sort of thing.
Well, one of the problems with PD is the high patient dropout, particularly early in the course of peritoneal dialysis. And if we can avoid losing patients early on and keeping them on PD by preventing complications, it would increase the number of PD and make our treatment work much better. And the other thing is also that if some patients are not suitable for PD and we don't treat them with PD but hemodialysis and choose the right patient, that's also crucial for a good success for the patient, for their quality of life, and also for the economy of dialysis treatment. And why do patients drop out from PD, particularly early on? It's often thought that peritonitis is not a big problem anymore, but still peritonitis is a quite big problem. And the other big issues are the catheter function, and to get a good catheter and avoid complications, which makes the initial course of PD complicated if it's not working. And the third thing is the social factors and patient cooperation, and to get the patient motivated, understanding what they are doing. And otherwise you may get burnout, and patients stop PD because of that.
So the master classes, as every time, we try to keep them as interactive as possible, and we try to make them also as applicable to the everyday practice of the people also. We have the basic science track where we will try to develop animal models and how they can support our research in peritoneal dialysis. In the clinical field, we will focus especially on the Achilles heels of peritoneal dialysis, volume control, and the peritoneal access peritoneal dialysis catheters.
My lecture is about a catheter case. It is an illustration of how things can go wrong when you put in a PD catheter and how it often doesn't work or sometimes doesn't work. And this really is a problem, because if you don't have a good access, you cannot start doing peritoneal dialysis. So what I will be giving as a home message for the audience will be that the PD catheter is essential, and that proper attention to the placement of the PD catheter is important. by whoever it is doing, whether it is the nephrologist or the surgeon or someone else. And I think that the key message will be that respecting some of the essential things in PD catheter placement is one of the guarantees to success of a PD catheter.
It is important to individualise patient care. The idea that the same treatment will suit all patients at all times is just really not that tenable anymore. But what we most need are large studies so that we can really start to define the different subgroups and what is best for each different patient group at different times, which is clearly a fairly major challenge for the PD community. We will need to be working on registry data and large cohort studies to really be able to start to pin down these groups. There's been a little bit of this so far, but with all the developments in information technology, we stand a really good chance of really changing patient care in the future.
Home hemodialysis, if you look at the international epidemiology, you can see that it's gradually increasing in several countries, but there are still a majority of countries where it's more or less non-existent. Well, if you go back 35 years, home hemodialysis was the dominant form of home dialysis, but when peritoneal dialysis arrived, it more or less wiped out home hemodialysis, and the reasons for that are the same today, that peritoneal dialysis gives you more freedom of movement, of travel, and is much easier to learn.
So if you're asking me what the future of PD is, then maybe we should try to rephrase the question a bit. What's the future of renal replacement therapy? Because at the end of the day, what you want a treatment that can be integrated and adapted to the life of the patient, and you want to avoid as much as possible to have the patient adapt his life to the treatment. So what you want is a kind of flexible portfolio of treatments that you can offer, be it PD, be it CAPD, APD, be it home dialysis or center dialysis in different modalities, transplantation in all its different modalities, so that you can tailor the therapy to what the patient needs, individualized personal dialysis. If we want to achieve that, first of all, there is a lot of technical questions on these different modalities, individually speaking, but also on the transition between all these different modalities, because there might be some moments in time that one might be better than the other, and then there will be the transfer from one modality to the other. There also we need more data, we need more insights on how that will go. So the future of home-based therapies, for me, it's bright, because this is what the patient wants. It's going to improve quality of care, it's going to decrease the cost, and this is what we need in the future.